You took everything, and I'm gonna kill you.
Take your shot.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Real Screen Team. I'm Andrew Thomas. I'm here with fellow Daredevil, Christopher Johnson.
Hello, everyone.
And we're finally discussing Netflix's Daredevil.
Yes. Been a long time coming.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that we're finally discussing this.
Yep.
As now I get the opportunity to flex.
Yeah. You got to meet Charlie Cox. Well,
Yes.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yes, I made sure to meet him. He's such a nice man.
Mm-hmm.
Such a nice man. And so very British as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice man. I highly recommend it. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a convention and he's there, meet him. Very nice.
But before we go into the overview, make sure to find us on Facebook, The Real Screen Team. Where else?
You can also find us on Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, and Lemonade.
And find our YouTube channel and make sure to like, comment on our videos, share our videos, and definitely subscribe to this channel.
Yes, as we are on the road to 500 subscribers. Once we hit 500, we can start getting monetization, update our presentation, open a Patreon, where through your donations, you'll get the opportunity to see some videos exclusive to Patreon, and you'll also get the opportunity to give some viewer suggestions.
But let's get to the overview of the Netflix show, especially season 1.
Yes. This one season will be the overview for the whole series. The next couple seasons, we'll just go straight into the synopsis.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Marvel's Daredevil is an American television series created by Drew Goddard from the streaming service Netflix, based on the Marvel Comics character Daredevil. The series is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sharing continuity with the films of the franchise, and was the first Marvel Netflix series leading to the crossover miniseries The Defenders in 2017. The series ran for 3 seasons from April 10th, 2015 to October 19th, 2018. The series was produced by Marvel Television in association with ABC Studios. Stephen S. DeKnight served as showrunner for the first season, with Doug Petrie and Marco Ramirez taking over as co-showrunners for season 2, and Eric Olson joining the series as showrunner for the 3rd and final season. Goddard served as a consultant for the whole series. Unfortunately, Netflix canceled Daredevil on November 29th, 2018. It, along with the rest of the Netflix Marvel series, were moved from Netflix to Disney Plus in March 2022 after Disney regained the license to the character and the series. The series stars Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock / Daredevil, a blind lawyer by day who fights crime as a mass vigilante by night, alongside Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Henson, Rosario Dawson, and Vincent D'Onofrio as the main cast, with Toby Leonard Moore, Vondi Curtis Hall, Bob Gunton, and Ayelet Zur joining the cast for season 1. John Bernthal and Elodie Young, and Stephen Ryder joining for season 2, and Joan Watley, Jay Ali, and Wilson Bethel joining in season 3.
So let's discuss the first season.
Okay, the synopsis. Attorney Matt Murdock, who in a tragic accident was blinded as a boy, but imbued with extraordinary senses, Murdock sets up a practice in his old neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, New York, where he now fights against injustice as a respected lawyer by day and mass vigilante by night, juxtaposed with Wilson Fisk and his rise of becoming the kingpin of crime.
Well, I watched this when it first came out, and I really loved the first season.
Oh, yes. Same here, and I have to say this is quite possibly one of the best first seasons of a show I've ever seen. It really is that good.
Next to The Flash season 1.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I will give the first season of The Flash,
Yeah.
a great deal of credit as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you truly want to know a really good story from the comic books that is much more grounded,
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely what you want to see. I mean, in my opinion, anyone could really get into this, whether they're a fan of superheroes and comic books or not.
Yeah, it would also make also a good crime-related show, similar to Law and Order.
Yeah.
Of cases, yeah.
Well, Law and Order and maybe a little bit of Perry Mason as well. Yeah. So, I mean, it really has anything that you would want. It has truly great drama. It has action. Heck, sometimes it has even a little bit of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything you want.
Mm-hmm.
And a great deal of that is due to an amazing cast.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't we start with the man himself, the man I very fortunately got to meet, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil.
Yep. He helped us sponge off the taste of Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
This man got it. This man has it perfectly. It's almost like he was born to play this character.
Yeah.
And yes, we finally got that bitter taste of the 2003 movie out of our mouths, and we got a fantastic smorgasbord to entice us and fill us.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a full course meal.
Yeah.
And this man delivered it. Because I know it definitely had to be difficult of, one, playing a blind person, and two, Charlie himself being British.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt as though, one, you truly believed he was blind. You forgot the fact that this man can actually see. And two, it almost felt like he had been born and raised in New York.
Mm-hmm.
He truly got it. And I truly enjoy, how he was able to bring Matt Murdock to life. Him showing kind of just in his delivery of how he's talking to people. You can feel, at ease, or you can feel the intimidation, the anger. He's got it in spades. I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much everything you just said with with his heartbreak of losing people and with both them getting killed and also them finding out his secret and having a falling out with them too.
Yeah, as this show has no qualms with making you deal with
emotional damage.
Thank you, Stephen. Because, be sure to not get too attached to characters because characters will die. Mm-hmm. Characters will end up leaving, because things get too intense in Hell's Kitchen. And, it does cause, tension and issues with the people closest to Matt.
But we do get 2 episodes that reference his origin. The first 2 episodes in flashbacks.
Yep, as we get to see, the moment where he actually did get blinded.
Yep.
And of course, the death of his father.
Yeah.
His father getting murdered after he chose not to throw the fight that he was in.
Yeah. But his main rivals against the Kingpin, who we doesn't know until during the whole exploding of New York City, pretty much.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, when he was fighting the Russians, yeah. And then that becomes his target, is putting the Kingpin away. That's his goal for most of season 1 after he finds out.
And at the same time, grappling with the idea of, once I get this man, do I kill him or do I let him live? Do I end him once and for all, or do I let the justice system take its course?
Especially what Kingpin does to one main character.
Not just one main character, half of the characters in this whole freaking show. Most of the characters of this freaking show. Mm-hmm. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
And they all in varying degrees of just brutality.
Yeah.
And just sadness.
But he starts a law firm with his best pal, Foggy Nelson.
Yes.
Which starts off the chain of events for season 1.
Which it feels like perfect. It's like a perfect domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, seeing as though you brought him up, why don't we discuss him? Franklin Foggy Nelson, played by Eldon Henson.
Yeah, the last time I saw him was the Mighty Ducks, so. Yep.
I've seen bits and pieces of that.
I've seen all 3 movies, so yeah. I think I've seen the second one the most because they showed it live when I was a kid in the YMCA, so yeah. The one that he's in it the most, so yeah.
Well, I guess at some point we're going to have to show our respect to Emilio.
Yeah.
But Eldon Henson did perfect as Foggy.
Yes.
I mean, no offense to Jon Favreau, but he didn't really get the opportunity to fully give us everything of what Foggy Nelson is as a character. Eldon Henson took essentially the Jimmy Olsen for Matt Murdock and made him into such a well-defined and well-rounded character that you're rooting for him just as much as you are Matt. I grew to really like Foggy. And yeah, there were times where you're supposed to feel like you should sympathize with Matt whenever there's the butting of heads or issues that they run into. But at the same time, you're also feeling like, Foggy has a point. I understand where he's coming from.
I understand Foggy's point of view mainly the next season when it comes to them doing big trials.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Matt can't be there.
And Matt's life as a vigilante is bleeding too much into his life as a lawyer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
But he mainly sees Daredevil before he, spoiler alert, knows who he's really underneath as a terrorist and a vigilante.
Yeah, he sees him as a crazy man who initially he thinks he's the one causing all the mayhem when it's actually Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
Which adds kind of a unique little wrinkle, of the whole, mystery and mystique of Daredevil, because he's saying this while at the same time standing right next to the man who he respects and loves like a brother.
Yeah. Yep, and it leads to a huge falling out.
Initially.
Yeah, initially. We actually do get the flashbacks of them meeting in college.
Which was really nice, And
we get the meme that you talked about.
Oh, Cryface Matt?
Yeah, and the avocados.
Yes, quite possibly one of the best running things. Nelson and Murdoch, avocados at law.
Yeah.
That's been a running thing for this whole series. Makes me sad. And Born Again, we don't get a full opportunity of enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get ready for emotional damage there too.
Yeah.
But I truly enjoyed the chemistry Charlie Cox and Eldon Henson had.
Yeah.
It truly felt like Matt and Foggy had jumped off the page and we are actually seeing them.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the best moments with them is the first time they meet Karen.
Yeah.
And, Matt trying to keep her at ease while at the same time Foggy, being nice but also being the type of lawyer that you need to be in meeting a new client.
Yeah. Seems like he's flirtatious with Karen also, Foggy.
Yeah.
In this first season.
And apparently, there's at least a character or two that are in support of this whole endeavor. Though, unfortunately, they just end up as friends.
Yeah.
Fizzles
out.
Yeah.
After the explosion.
Well, yeah, that and also the fact of she's working for them now.
Yeah, well, that's going to change next season.
They only had a few episodes of that, and then, that calmed down.
Yeah.
But we brought her up.
Yeah.
Karen Page, played by Deborah Ann Wall.
Yeah.
Well, the hot vampire left Louisiana and ended up in New York City.
Yep. I say, I was there for the fan service because she is hot.
Well, yes. Why do you think she was one of the main characters of True Blood?
A show I haven't watched.
I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've seen bits and pieces too, but I haven't watched it.
well, yeah, understandable. But I mean, I get the gist of the show, and the show had a phenomenal cast.
Yeah, but she starts off as a damsel in distress in the first episode.
Oh yeah, because
Set up for murder.
yeah, and then almost murdered herself.
Yep.
More than once.
Yeah. Of course, Netflix also loves to give us some fan service.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is
more
Netflix.
adult, yeah. So I did enjoy those, even if some of them were sort of depressing.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
That's an understatement of that. No. I don't understand how in the world are you getting sad roused? How? I'm over here like, well, how are you over there? How are you looking over there?
Sometimes
What
It
you
happens.
looking like?
kind of hard when they're bringing out odds. But mainly she's there. She starts off as a client and then ends up working with them.
Yes, as their receptionist, and then essentially kind of becoming their go-to person for research of cases.
Where she also sort of starts off the climax by uncovering Fisk's dark truth,
Yes.
which takes down a couple characters with her. Sadly,
Well, I mean, she lives, but she ends up having to deal with, some serious emotions.
yeah.
Which, can you blame her?
We mainly see her interact with Foggy and Ben Urich this season.
Yeah. She does have her moments with Matt, but he's mainly doing stuff all around New York, starting off as the devil of Hell's Kitchen, but
with his own old suit.
Yeah. The black suit that is essentially just, spandex.
Yep.
Spandex and athletic pants
Yep.
and boots
Yep.
with a mask covering his eyes.
Yep. But yeah, she helps kick it off by uncovering one of his secrets. Is mainly his mom.
Yeah. Which she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it was important, she also shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Because that put her life in danger. She ends up putting other people's lives in danger, and some of them aren't so lucky.
Yeah.
It's a rough thing.
Yeah.
But I like Karen.
Yep.
At first you feel for her,
Yeah.
and then you're rooting for her, and then at the same time it's also like you deal with the complex feeling of maybe Karen, maybe you shouldn't do it, but at the same time I feel like you need to do it.
Yeah.
She starts to show her knack of being a true investigative reporter that she would end up becoming, and also just the perfect investigative go-to person for a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
whenever a lawyer needs some additional information, always have someone that is able to go out there and get that information. And that's what makes Nelson and Murdoch work.
Yeah.
They would be nothing without Karen.
Yeah.
And I just love the chemistry they all have together.
Yep.
I mean,
Yes, I do agree. It's kind of hard when Brandon and Foggy have they're falling out, one of many falling outs, and then they'll just kind of leave Kieran in the middle.
stuck in the middle with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That she ends up getting herself in trouble because they both fell out.
Yeah, and she's not, both of them are keeping coy about the whole situation, so she can't really give a full perspective.
Mm-hmm.
She's just hoping that hopefully cooler heads will prevail and they can work this out.
Yeah. Yep. They're the Three Musketeers.
Yes.
Although, let's talk about the other allies before we get to the main villain and his allies.
Okay. Should we go into the night nurse or the reporter?
The night nurse.
Okay. Yep. Claire Temple, played by Rosario Dawson.
Oddly enough, this is our first time reviewing him. I think with Rosario Dawson.
How? How have we gone through so much and she has not appeared in anything?
No. We haven't done Men in Black, and we haven't done like the terrible movies she's been in, like Pluto Nash.
Well, we haven't done any of the Clerks movies.
Yeah.
And we haven't done any of the stuff she's done with Star Wars.
Or the Zombieland sequel that she also starred in.
True.
Yeah, so.
No. So, yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Yeah, but we.
Or any of the stuff she's done for DC Comics.
Oh, we'll get to that this year.
Yeah.
With her voice acting. Yep, so. This is our first time, but it won't be our last this year, so.
Yeah. We've got quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I really liked Rosario as Claire.
Yep. The first secret keeper for Matt because her neighbor found him in a dumpster. Bleeding out.
Yeah, which that's one of the only two complaints I have for this season. Mm-hmm. I understand you're staying true to the comics with how the original Man Without Fear suit was. But bro, could you have not found any sort of like armor or something to make sure that you don't end up like that?
Yeah.
Because by the end of the season, how many scars do you end up with?
Mm-hmm. So many. But she's his first love interest that we see.
Yeah. As she's essentially the first person he can confide in about this whole situation.
Yeah, I did like the chemistry between those two.
Yeah. And I can also attest because I saw both of them in person. They have a very nice friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And also I like the little nod to the comics when she first starts calling him Mike because he can't tell her his name yet.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole Mike thing, I think, is a little nod to Mike Murdoch, which was Matt acting like his twin brother who could see.
Okay.
To explain who Daredevil is.
Okay, so yeah, that's a weird comic thing I didn't know about.
You didn't know about the whole Mike Murdoch thing?
No.
Yeah, long lost twin brother who went out and essentially did the whole travel Batman-esque training. And then comes back and he's Daredevil, but it doesn't fully explain how Matt isn't there when he is there. But it does kind of alleviate the whole idea of, we've seen Daredevil up close and he has your same jawline and voice. Oh no, that's my twin brother. So, yeah, I love that little nod.
Yep, but she leaves because it was getting too dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
She leaves mid-season.
Which, can you blame her?
I
I mean, things get so bad, she ends up getting kidnapped and
almost killed by the Russians.
Yeah. Brutally.
Yep. So let's talk about the other ally.
Ah, yes. The reporter looking for the last big story. Ben Urich, played by Vondi Curtis Hall.
Yep, I really liked him.
Yes.
He was really good, especially with Karen. He doesn't he only interacts with Daredevil twice.
Well, yeah.
When rewatching that, they interacted more.
Yeah, initially I did think that would have they would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with how much they interact in the comics.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. He was there being the reporter that Karen reports to about all the dealings.
Yeah.
So like when the corporation that set her up for murder makes her sign a contract. Makes her sign a contract. He's like, sign the contract. She's like, but what about you? I'm not signing the contract. You're the one who's due. I can still do whatever.
Yeah, I can still report it.
Yeah.
You just can't publicly say it.
Yeah.
No one said about you discussing it privately.
Yeah.
And then me making it public.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, you feel sorry for him because of his wife with dementia.
Yeah. And he's trying to do his best to make sure that she's comfortable, while at the same time he's still trying to be the great, investigative reporter that he is. Yeah. Trying to seek out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And to uncover, some of the really shady and corrupt things that are going on around New York, mainly Hell's Kitchen. Mm-hmm. Because he knows that already, like the first episode, he knows that something's not right here.
Yeah. Something's
not right here. And I have a feeling that it's going to become a much bigger thing than what we all realize.
Yep. Of course, we also get. Of course, it's the character that I'm sad for that we don't see after this season.
Yeah, I don't think we should give too much away because we both definitely want you to watch the series.
We might go to the spoilers when we discuss the good and the bad.
Yeah, so be warned.
Yeah.
But I really like this interpretation of Ben, and I think this is potentially the first interpretation of Ben.
Yeah.
Because Ben Urich actually has a much bigger thing within the comics. As it's kind of alluded to that all of the comic books we are reading are from his perspective. Mm. Essentially, he has seen a lot of the things going on, and the comics are essentially him reporting this to us. Mm-hmm. That's actually a pretty cool, little is that a fourth wall kind of
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben Urich is actually a very important character in the comics.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we'll discuss what happens to him that makes us mad for the bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But let's get into the main villain.
I mean, Vonda Curtis Hall did such a good job. I wasn't even bothered with the whole race swap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben's a white guy in the comics. But this is one of the instances where it doesn't matter because the actor was good.
Yeah. But is there any more? Oh, well, Al, I guess the father. Or
Father Lantom.
yeah.
Yeah, Father Paul Lantom, played by Peter McRobbie. Another early person that Matt is able to confide in, but not fully.
Yeah.
Not fully.
He just says, "Father, I'm going to sin. I'm not going to do anything right, anything real good."
Yeah, and also he kind of, because Father Lantom has known Matt for a while, he's able to kind of put two and two together.
Yeah.
So he knows Matt's Daredevil without him really saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So Matt's able to discuss a bit more with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think a bit more than what even he could discuss with Claire. And he's mainly the one that he confides in when he deals with the whole dilemma of what to do with Wilson Fisk.
Yeah. Should we discuss the main villain himself? Or is there any more allies I miss?
I mean, there are a couple people like involved.
Yeah.
With the main characters. I mean,
All right.
of course, Mrs. Elena Cardenas,
Yeah.
played by Judith Delgado.
Yeah, she did good for what she had.
Yeah, she's another one of their early clients, as she actually lives in one of the major neighborhoods of Hell's Kitchen that Wilson Fisk plans on demolishing.
Yeah. And she tries to play matchmaker with Foggy and Karen.
Yeah, she sees Foggy as like the true stand-up guy of Nelson and Murdoch. And the fact that, he does so much for her. Mm-hmm. I mean, the man fixed her sink when no one else was willing or take their responsibility and do it.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot for her. That's why she saw him as that individual that, Karen, Senior Foggy. Mm-hmm. Senior Foggy.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's another one that we end up having to deal with.
Emotional damage.
Thank you again, Stephen. Again, don't get too attached to characters.
Yeah.
And we must also acknowledge Marcy Stahl, played by Amy Ruthberg.
She's also hot.
Well, yes. And she is a fellow lawyer and the former girlfriend of Foggy.
Yeah. Sort of makes reference that Foggy's into blondes.
Hey, he's got a
Yeah.
type. He's got a type. But, Marcy shows that true, personality of, asshole lawyer. Mm-hmm. The example of what a lot of people say about hell, that, at least fourth of hell is full of lawyers. Mm-hmm. She would be one of those lawyers.
Yeah.
She's a shark lawyer that cares more about winning rather than the people or entities that are involved with the whole situation.
Yeah.
I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah. Although she does grow a little bit of a conscience in the end.
Yeah.
After her sort of getting back with Foggy.
Yeah. And at the same time, starting to uncover some of the stuff that, you know, the law partners aren't really making a bit more known, keeping it on the down low. And when she uncovers it, she's like, no, nah, I ain't getting arrested. I ain't losing my law license. I got to make sure this gets out. And yeah, that's when she's willing to help Foggy. And starts the really complex situation ship that they rekindle.
Yeah.
But now we get into the villain. Wilson Fisk, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. How has this man not won awards for this performance? How? I already knew Vincent D'Onofrio was a fantastic actor. I still need to see Full Metal Jacket. That was his first major performance.
Also, then you watch Law and Order: Criminal Intent, where he's the Sherlock Holmes
That as
of the
well.
show.
Yeah. My first introduction was him as, in Men in Black.
Same here.
as
The
Edgar the Bug.
Yeah, in the man suit.
Yeah, as the freaking Bug skinned Vincent D'Onofrio and is wearing his skin. And as the movie goes along, the skin starts decomposing.
Yeah.
Something I never fully realized until someone pointed it out. That's messed up.
Yeah.
But, my God, Vincent D'Onofrio took already an interesting and kind of complex character in Wilson Fisk and made him into practically like a Shakespearean character.
Yep. And you feel bad. I like enough to make you feel bad for the character.
Yeah. That's one of the major compelling points about his performance as Fisk, as Fisk is doing terrible things.
Yeah.
You get mad at the things that he does, but at the same time, you feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, you kind of empathize for him.
Yep. And he gets a big origin story in episode 8.
Yes, which by far is the best and much more interesting origin story for Wilson Fisk that they've ever done.
Yeah.
Instead of him being fat kid who's trying to continue his father's whole criminal dealings, and his father leaves him high and dry, so he ends up getting arrested. Oh no. They made this deeper. Sensitive heavyset kid who is dealing with a blowhard of a father who is trying to push this idea of being a man onto Wilson, while at the same time being abusive to him and his mother. All because of the fact that he feels bad about himself. Because he feels as though that as an everyman, he should try to represent those guys and try to get into public office, make something of himself, something bigger. But that doesn't work out. And he does take it out on Wilson and his mother, and even some of the people that Wilson is dealing with in school. Which is a number of the things that ends up pushing Wilson to the brink. Should I?
Yeah.
And Wilson's father is the first life Wilson Fisk takes.
Yeah.
He brutally killed his father to protect his mother. And at the same time, finally let out all the rage he had towards his father. He unleashed the beast on his father's head with a freaking hammer. And then had to help his mother in disposing of his body. Which, how did she know about these things? They never fully disclosed how Wilson's mother knew how to dispose of a body.
Yeah. His main goal is to get laid.
Well, that's a side mission.
Yeah.
His main goal is to make Hell's Kitchen a better place.
Yeah.
Even if it means he has to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
Yeah.
Or cause killing.
Yeah.
Cause death. Do
Yeah.
some killing.
Yeah. How we see him meeting his wife in the comics.
Yes. As every man has to have a great woman behind him. Islet Zur as Vanessa Mariana. Soon Vanessa Fisk. Yes, hello again, Mrs. L. How's Cal doing?
Yep. We might have to read a review someday.
Yeah, at some point. But yeah, it kind of blew my mind watching this and then seeing Man of Steel. I'm like, Vanessa? You gave birth to Superman? But this woman does not get enough credit for how good of an actress she is.
Yes.
Because she's able to be sultry and sexy without having to do too much.
Yeah.
While at the same time, you can also tell that there's a bit of a femme fatale there with her. Yeah. As, you know, despite of how sophisticated she is, rich and well-read that she is, there's some darkness there. And that adds an extra element to why the chemistry she and Wilson has is just so perfect.
Yeah, and once you find out Wilson's other motives,
his criminal doings. Yeah, initially she's a bit iffy about it. I mean, she had a gun on her on their second date. Or was it the first date?
That was second after.
Yeah, the second date. Yeah. And that leads to Wilson being honest with her.
And explain his origin story.
And at the same time telling her that whatever he is doing or planning, and she has a question about it, he will be honest with her about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel as though Vanessa adds a bit more of humanity to Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of him being a cartoonishly, you know, evil, I'm twirling my mustache villain, he's a much more well-rounded individual of a sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
That at the same time, you wish that he was doing stuff that you could root for, but at the same time, it's like, nah, bro, you're going a bit too far. We need to see you go down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand what you're doing. It's low-key making some sense, but at the same time, bro, you're causing way too... You're causing so many casualties. Innocent casualties.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about his best friend.
Ah, yes. His right-hand man.
Yeah.
James Wesley, played by Toby Leonard Moore. How in the world is this man Australian? I never would have thought. Because... oh my God. This man was fantastic.
Yeah, at the beginning, he's the one who's orchestrating it because Kingpin's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Hiding. Yeah.
He's essentially the mouthpiece for Fisk until he's finally willing to reveal himself and actually be hands-on.
Yeah. Of course, that doesn't stop John Wesley from being hands-on either.
Oh, yeah, because not only is he the right-hand man as the mouthpiece and whatnot, he's also willing to be a fixer.
Yeah.
To the point that he's the one that mainly goes and orchestrates assassinations, getting contract killers, and even getting his own hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Though the crazy thing about it is, Wesley, even though Wesley is kind of the henchman, he doesn't fully feel like a henchman.
No.
Wilson treats him like an equal.
Yep.
You know, to the point that it almost feels like if Fisk were to go down, Wesley would be the one to take over the whole enterprise.
Yep.
You know, until he gets Vanessa.
Yep.
And really, Wesley is kind of the only one that pushes Wilson into pursuing Vanessa.
Yep.
He's the only one that actually is in favor of their union.
Yeah.
Because he cares about Wilson as a person, not just as a boss.
Yep. Well, let's talk about the circle that Fisk leads.
Ah, yes.
The uneasy circle.
Do we start with the Russians or do we start with the Asian side?
Russians first.
Okay. Vladimir and Anatoly my apologies. Ranskahov.
Yeah.
My apologies. Yeah, Vladimir and Anatoly Ranskahov. Played by Nikolai Nikolaev and Gideon Emery, respectively.
Yeah.
Both did fantastic.
Yeah.
And I did not know that neither of them are Russian. I mean, you already knew Nikolai.
Yeah.
It's morphin' time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that blew my mind to find out that, yeah, one of the villains was a Power Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
But I like their kind of dynamic of being those hard-nosed Russians. I mean, they spent time in the freaking gulag in, in the freaking tundra.
Yeah. And somehow get caught up with Fisk.
Yeah, I mean...
And dealing with human trafficking.
Yeah.
Where then they get trouble of their own from Daredevil.
Yeah, because you had to go and kidnap one of his friends, a potential love interest.
Mm-hmm.
While through the front of you running your cab service.
Yeah.
And then you end up causing issues that you are a means to an end.
Yeah. Like in Rippling Fist State.
Yeah, that was on Antley.
Yeah.
That was on that. Yeah, he was trying to show unity with Wilson, but he ended up causing issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the point that it almost ruined, the whole pursuing of Vanessa. You embarrassed me in front of her! Couple minutes later. Oh. Decapitation! Yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts going on when that was happening?
I didn't see that one coming the first time I saw.
What, that a man's entire head would be crushed to the point of decapitation?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. When I was like, oh, he's still going. Oh, is that Brain Man? Oh, crap! He lost his head. Those were my thoughts the first time watching this show. God, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. And I was like, okay, yeah, Netflix ain't pulling punches.
Yeah.
Not only are we going to see Wilson Fisk kill, he going to be gruesome about it.
Of course, he sets it up on Daredevil that he's the one who killed.
Yeah. And that's the reason.
Both of them.
Yeah, and that's the reason why Claire ends up getting involved in all this mess. And then he has like a weird heart-to-heart with Vladimir.
Yeah. That Vladimir decides to do a heroic sacrifice.
Yeah.
At the end, yeah.
Because he feels like, I know I'm not going to make it. At least you can get out here and stop that man. Get the man that killed my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Because they went through everything together.
Yeah.
I mean, they were locked up. They were locked up
And
together. They had to use one of their dead cellmates as use parts of his body as weapons to get out.
mm-hmm. Of course, let's talk about the Chinese.
Oh,
Or
should we go with Gao or Nobu?
Nobu.
Okay, the Japanese
Yeah,
before.
Japanese, yeah.
Okay. Nobu Yoshioka, played by Peter Shinkoda.
Yeah.
This man is a dangerous, smooth operator.
Yeah. He also has his iffiness with Fisk.
Well,
His
yeah.
questions will-
I think he has a bit of iffiness with everyone involved in this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just doing this, for the Yakuza and the hand.
Yeah.
This is the reason why he is even working with anyone here.
Yeah.
Because they all have their own power, strength within numbers, and also the fact of Fisk is slowly becoming the kingpin.
Yeah.
It's better to be in the good graces with the kingpin.
He uses Nobu as a way to actually meet Daredevil face to face.
Yeah.
And also get Nobu out of the way.
Yeah, because he also saw Nobu was becoming a difficult means to an end.
Yeah.
Just like how the Russians were.
Yeah.
I mean, with the whole Black Sky situation, and then you're starting to get the hand involved. No, you're about to cause destruction, total destruction of the place I'm trying to make better. So, nah. I'm gonna tell you, go fight him. You end up causing yourself to get to get set on fire, burned to a crisp. I get to meet him, and then I get to throw hands. I get to deal with the wounded animal.
Mm-hmm.
Take your shot.
Yeah. Of course.
But I think he did a fantastic job as Nobu.
I agree.
And the fact that he was able to bring such an air of mystery and danger that we really don't know the full story until next season.
Yeah.
And we initially thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Hey, we start dealing with some mysticism stuff.
Yeah.
But speaking of mysticism, Madame Gao, played by Wai Ching Ho.
Yeah. Most of the time we meet her, she's just speaking in Chinese.
Yeah. Or Mandarin.
Mandarin,
Yeah.
We don't know that she can speak English.
Yeah. And the fact that she's much older than what we think.
Yeah.
I mean, she's mainly just running the heroin trade in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. Full of blind people.
Yeah. It makes sense. Make sure that no one knows what's going on. No witnesses. No way of describing what's going on.
Yeah.
Though I think it's kind of... Is she having people blind these people?
That's what I was thinking.
That adds an even bigger air of just messed up.
And she's also a good fighter.
Yeah.
Matt will soon find out.
Yeah, because he tries to throw a few punches, she blocks, and then, which is that's the whole palm thrust thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an actual move, and she knocked him how many yards?
So many.
Like 4 or 5 yards.
Yep.
Madame Gao is no one to mess with.
Of course, her and the other guy don't like Kingpin hooking up with Vanessa.
Yes. The Booker.
Yeah.
Yep, the one that is running the finances. Leland Owsley, played by Bob Gunton.
Yep.
A non-mutant Leland Owsley and an older Leland Owsley. But I understand, as Bob Gunton does a fantastic job.
Yeah, so many good one-liners.
Yes, he plays the perfect, like, neurotic white-collar criminal.
Yeah.
And I think it's just fantastic. He adds a bit more levity to all of, like, these hardened individuals.
Yep.
You know, you need to have one jester in a group of...
Yep. Make sure he doesn't get killed. Everything. Although that doesn't stop him at the end. Yeah.
True. And I believe he's the one man that actually, like, fully, like, stops Daredevil.
Yeah. Well, for that one scene.
As far as everyone is concerned, he's the one that actually put Matt on his back down for the count for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Just with a taser. And the sad thing is, that's the only interaction they ever have.
Yeah.
Leland Owsley's a major villain for Daredevil, and that's the only time they interact. But it makes sense with the story.
Yep. Any other characters that we missed, or?
I mean, supporting characters. I mean, like Officer Brett Mahoney.
Yep.
The one, like, trustworthy cop in the whole NYPD.
Yeah.
As long-running classmates with Foggy Nelson. Mm-hmm. And with him being the one honest cop, he's also the one individual involving the police that Matt, as Daredevil, can start conversing with. Mm-hmm. And of course, common criminal and man that works with, like, half of everybody within Fisk's circle, Turk Barrett, played by Rob Morgan.
Yeah. Of all the sex trafficking, or trafficking in general.
Well, it was human trafficking no matter what.
He's always there to get his ass beat by Daredevil.
Yeah, and somehow, some way, despite all of the messed up crimes he commits, this man does not get put away for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
I think he has Donovan as his lawyer.
Yeah.
I think he has Donovan.
Then talk about the two corrupt cops. Or did we miss them? I guess.
I don't think I put them in my...
Oh, well. They were pain in the ass. And we found that they were corrupt once they shot someone who was trying to get leak Fisk's name out.
Yeah. It's like, is it my turn this time or is it yours? It's yours. Officer hit! Officer hit! Suspect! I have to stop him!
Yeah, along with the threat to Matt the first episode about kicking his ass.
Blind man or not, if you talk to me like that again, I will kick your ass. Mm-hmm. Well, look what happened to you.
Yeah.
Not only did you get your ass kicked by the blind man, your best friend killed you. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the good.
All of the storylines.
Yep.
Fantastic. I mean...
Yep, they're all cohesive.
Yeah, they all blend nicely because they all deal with a major central villain.
Yep.
You know, the beginning of Daredevil, the life and rise of Wilson Fisk, Ben Urich's last big story, the start and almost end of Nelson and Murdoch, Karen Page from victim to ace in the hole.
Yeah.
All just perfect gift wrapped present.
Yeah.
And plus, this is such a faithful adaptation of Frank Miller's The Man Without Fear series. If this they did it so perfectly. So perfectly.
Yeah.
This is one of those occasions where they took a direct comic book story and translated it perfectly in live action.
Yeah. Of course, the acting.
Oh yes, I mean Charlie Cox, just perfect. Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio, perfect.
Yeah.
Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Henson, Toby Leonard Moore, Iletta Zur, Vondi Curtis Hall. They all were the major MVPs of this season. I mean,
if they didn't work, then the series would have not worked.
Oh yeah, yeah. They need it. This series would not have worked without them, or if they themselves did not bring their A game, and they brought their A game.
Yep. Of course, the action.
Oh,
all the fight scenes. Starting with episode 2 with the whole hallway fight with the Russian.
As he's saving the young child that was going to get trafficked.
Yeah.
That poor kid. I mean, his dad gets carjacked, beat down, and you're still in the car and they just drive off with you.
Yeah.
But yes, that one-shot hallway scene. Oh my God, that is some of the best television action I have ever seen.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Of course, Matt versus Nobu.
Which was brutal. Whew. That was the fight that made me like, oh God, oh my ribs, my back. Because Matt just getting sliced and stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt versus Fisk.
Which one? There were so many.
Well, the first time that was just a little spar session. I mean, Matt had just dealt with a freaking master ninja in Nobu. So, Wounded Man versus fresh at full power big man. Of course, Matt was going to get washed. But then, the climactic fight.
In season 1, he finally puts on the suit.
All thanks to Melvin Potter, played by Matt Gerald. As initially he's the tailor for Wilson Fisk, making these special tailored suits that also have armor on them.
Yep.
Fisk is smart. So Matt is like, he meets Melvin. He
promises to help Melvin out.
Yeah, protecting him and his parole officer, Betsy.
Yeah.
To make sure that Fisk won't do anything to them.
Yep.
And Melvin decides to make a suit for Matt so he can get some protection and also better conceal his identity.
Yep. He finally lives up to the name, finally.
Yes. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen. He becomes Daredevil.
And I do like the red suit.
Even though That's the prototype version.
Yeah.
It gets better the next season.
Yeah.
Plus, let's not forget Scott Glenn as Stick.
Yeah. For his one episode he was in, yeah. He gets
They did the origin of Matt meeting Stick and getting trained perfectly.
Yeah.
Scott Glenn is perfect as Stick.
Even though, yeah, so Stick is a dick.
Yeah, he's a complex individual. He is.
He's like Master Splinter, but willing to kill.
Yeah. And also willing to abandon his kids if they get too emotional towards him or he gets too emotional towards them.
Yeah. And that's why he gets special guest star credit during the opening credits.
Yeah. But he more than earned it.
Yeah.
Just like Vincent D'Onofrio's And.
Yep.
We also got to see some setting up of the Hand and Iron Fist.
Yep. And next season.
But yeah, with Madame Gao acknowledging, she's not talking about China when going home. Nobu's attire when he fights Matt. I mean, that is the Hand's ninja attire, and also the Steel Serpent heroine.
Yep.
Actually has, the logo of the Steel Serpent, the main villain of Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, the courtroom scenes.
Yeah.
This is one of the few shows where they actually do courtroom drama on par with Law and Order and Perry Mason.
Yeah.
Just perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
And so much emotional damage.
Yep. That's why we should, right here, stop or turn to our scores because we're about to reveal the bad for the spoilers.
Yes. Killing off Wesley and Ben.
I hated that.
I understood that it kind of needed to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish it didn't.
Yeah.
Because Wesley adds to Fisk's package.
Yeah.
When he dies, it feels like there's something missing.
Yeah.
Until Daredevil Born Again, where he has his cabinet.
Yeah.
And Ben, like I said, is such an influential part of Marvel.
Yeah. Him getting killed by Fisk was unexpected.
Oh, yeah, especially with Fisk himself rolling up on Ben in his home, gonna give a Shakespearean soliloquy, and then run up and strangle this man to death.
Yeah.
Though, good thing, all those years ago, Ben put a big life insurance on himself because he knew as an investigative reporter he would piss someone off and someone would try to assassinate him. Just like J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, that's why I feel in seasons 2, 3, and Born Again, it still feels kind of weird without a Ben or a Wesley on there, because it feels like they, in those plots, that they could have been helpful.
Yeah, there definitely are moments where I feel like, oh yeah, Ben would have made, this investigation and reporting so much easier.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Wesley actually could have helped Wilson in getting out of prison much faster and easier,
Yeah.
while at the same time keeping his enterprises running, up and running smoothly while he is locked up.
Yeah. But when it gets to the scores,
Yeah.
I give this a 10 out of 10. It's the perfect season. Up to one of DC's best shows. It's up there. Minus that losing two main characters I really liked. Especially Ben. I really recommend this first season for anyone who watches it who either likes Marvel, is familiar with Daredevil, or who's just a big crime drama person. You?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. If I could break the scale, I would. But seeing as though we have a set scale, it has to stay there. This is one of the best shows I ever watched. I love this show. So much so, I've tried to get so many other people into this show. This show was perfect. Perfect. This first season was the best first season of a show I have ever seen. Yes, I think it's a little bit better than The Flash. Mm-hmm. And I love that first season. All other shows have a heavy task ahead in trying to surpass this. That's how good it is.
But now that we're done discussing season 1, we're going to be discussing season 2.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if it lives up to the expectation of season 1.
Yep. As one batch, two batch, penny and dime.
But when we're all set.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you all for watching. Definitely come back and watch us again. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, and click the post notification bell so you're updated with all of our upcoming videos. Well, until next time, cut, print, that's a wrap.